Hey friends, before we dive into today's episode, which you'll shortly hear is a special episode, a special remix moment with Martine, I wanted to let you know that actually after recording the podcast episode, I really felt compelled to provide a live experience for us to connect and talk about finding strength after setback. So whether you are in this group who is impacted by this unexpected change that you'll shortly hear about, or you're just finding yourself in your own setback professionally or in your career or in entrepreneurship, you are also invited to this because we're going to talk about, as someone who went through an unexpected change and a setback 3 years ago, we're going to talk about the 5 essential steps to reset your path with confidence. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to connect with me, to ask questions, to be coached on where you are, where you want to go, and what's the next step for you. Like, this is going to give you that opportunity for that I just can't do here on the podcast. So I want you to go to martinewilliams.com/setup, martinewilliams.com/setup. And the link is in the show notes, and I will see you there. Welcome to Remix Moments with Martine, where we will remix your mindset one moment at a time. I'm your host, Martine Williams, and I'm here to bring you a quick burst of inspiration, insight, and a fresh spin on your mompreneur journey. In just a few minutes, we'll remix your mindset, energize your day, and keep you moving forward with purpose. Let's dive in to today's moment. Hey friends, and welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode, typically, we do remix moments with Martine on Mondays. And while we will be talking about remixing your mindset, this is going to be a little bit longer episode. So I try to keep my Monday episodes 15 minutes or less. But today's episode is special. Today's episode is dedicated to a group of mompreneurs who I know are hurting today. And I'm talking about my pink bubble friends over at 31 Gifts. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Martine and welcome to the show. But I started my entrepreneur journey with 31 Gifts, a direct sell company. And 3 years ago, I felt called out of the company. And that's a whole nother story. You can find that on another episode. But I really wanted to spend some time today on the episode because the pink bubble was super special to me. It's still super special to me to this day. And the women over there, whether you're a leader, you're a consultant, you're a home office staff, and honestly, even to Scott and Cindy, like, I just wanted to dedicate this episode for you. And I'm not on social media. I've been on a break since March. Most of you know that, or since April, most of you know that. So this was my way of speaking to all of you and speaking my thoughts, my perspective, probably share a little bit of my journey with you, even though my journey is a little bit different. It's almost like I'm reliving it a little bit with you because the emotions are similar. I won't say they're exactly the same, but they are similar. So I want you to know, first and foremost, that I see you and you're not alone. This is tough. This was probably unexpected. For some of you, it was disappointing. And I want to even venture to say for some of you, it's a relief. And if you're in that bucket, you may be feeling like a little confused by that. It's almost like when you're in a bad relationship and you know you need to leave, or you're feeling called out, or you know it's not where you're supposed to be, but you won't be the one to do the breakup. For some of you, you feel relief for that reason because you've had a gut instinct, you've had nudges, you've had thoughts that have come up that you wanted to pursue other things. And so for you, this was a decision that was made for you. And even though it's tough and it's hard, you may feel a little relief. So don't judge yourself for feeling that way. Don't feel shameful for that. If that's you, everyone is going to experience different emotions in this situation. But I want to encourage you that this is not the end of your journey. In fact, it could be the beginning of something even greater. So again, whether you're a consultant, a leader, a home office staff, those peers of mine that I still call you my peers to this day. And it's funny, people will catch me when I'm talking about 31 and I'll say we. I've still been there, like I never left 3 years ago. And it's just my family. It's been my family. So I'm hurting with you today. I'm processing emotions with you today. And we're going to talk about how to process loss. And we're going to talk about how to see the opportunities ahead and to take steps forward with confidence and clarity, because that is possible for you. So let's start with the real stuff, right? This situation is hard, and you have every right to feel sad, frustrated, maybe scared. Again, for some of you, it's like a relief because maybe it's felt like a Band-Aid that's slowly been ripped off. 31 might have been a big part of your identity, your source of income in your community. It was for me. And even though mine was by choice, it was, but it wasn't. Like I've been thinking about that. Like, no, the doors weren't closed on me. I chose to close the door. But it also, as a woman of faith, was a step of obedience, and it didn't feel good. And I didn't want to do it. But my obedience trumped comfort in that moment. So my identity, a lot of it was in my 31 business. My income was in 31. Like I left a very secure income and a very amazing community, which I've been able to hold, even after walking away. But I want you to give yourself permission to grieve the loss. Like grief is real, and everyone's going to grieve differently in this situation. Some of you, it's going to just be a quick grief journey. And for others of you, you may have to sit in it a little bit longer. But I want you to give yourself permission to grieve, because it is a loss. It's a loss of income. It's a loss of identity. It's a loss of community for a season, not forever. And here's what I want you to remember. Feeling all the feelings doesn't mean you're stuck in them. Like it's a both and. You can acknowledge the hurt and still move forward. You can acknowledge the frustration and still move forward. You are more than your business. In this moment, even though it feels like it's ending, it's actually a transition. I'm not going to use the word pivot because I think that word got overused, but it's a transition. But I want you to give yourself permission to grieve how you need to grieve. Again, social media is a beautiful place of encouragement, but also can move us into comparisonitis, and we see how other people are grieving and we should grieve that way. You only know what you need in this moment. And I want you to think about, like, there's this emotional ladder that we have, and you're in the grief stage. And so the actions that you take or the inactions you take based on that grief are just that. When you are not grieving, when you are in a good, healthy headspace, your actions will be different. So give yourself the space and the grace in this season to grieve without judgment, to grieve without expectation, to grieve what you need to grieve. For some of you, you've been with 31 for a very long time, and you've had deep roots there. So give yourself time to grieve this loss and also this transition. So it's easy to focus on the doors that are closing. But what if we flipped that and looked at the ones that are opening? Now, this is after you've gone through some grieving. You may not be able to get there right now, and you might actually want to come through this podcast and throat punch me for saying that. But for some of you, you're ready. For some of you, by the time you listen to this podcast, you're ready. You've done some grieving and you're ready to look at what's opening. I know it's a cliche, but every challenge really does create an opportunity. And this could be the chance to redefine your path, to pivot into something that excites you even more. Maybe you haven't been excited in a really long time. Maybe you've felt a nudge to step into something new for a while, and this is just the push you needed. Or maybe you're ready to take your experience from 31 and building your 31 business and build your own brand. Whatever the case, remember, you're in control of how you respond to this. You weren't in control of the news that you received, but you are in control of how you respond to it. And how you respond to it is going to equal the outcome. You've heard me talk about E plus R equals O. That's from Jack Canfield's book, like the event that happened this week. And your response to that event is going to equal a certain outcome. So what is the outcome that you want from this? Like truly, what is the outcome that you want from this? How you respond, the thoughts that you think. I believe our thoughts create our results. You've heard me talk about this like over and over and over again. But what you're thinking about is what is going to produce emotions that produce actions that produces your results. So how you can control that. That's the only thing you can control in this situation. You can't control other people, how other people respond. You can't control all of the things that your brain's trying to control right now. You can control you and how you're going to respond to this. And let's not forget the incredible skills that you have gained from your experience with 31. One of the thoughts that is going to probably surface, if it hasn't surfaced already, is that I'm having to start all over again. I'm starting from scratch. And I want to offer to you, whether you have been in 31 for 6 months, 6 years, 20 years, you're not starting over. You're actually starting from experience. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. You know how to sell. You know how to communicate. You know how to market a product and how to build relationships. Like all of those skill sets you have developed. That's gold. Those skills aren't going anywhere just because the company is. Those skills are going to go with you into your next, and your next is now. So I want you to think about it. You've learned resilience. Believe me, we've had to practice a lot of resilience with all kinds of setbacks and growing pains and COVID and all of the things that have happened. Like we have learned resilience. You have learned resilience. You have learned leadership. You have learned how to build community. And that's something you can take with you into your next venture. So take a moment maybe and just reflect on what you've accomplished. Reflect on, with gratitude, all that has been made possible because of this opportunity that you have had. Again, you might not be there yet. You might still be in a different stage of grief. But if you're available for it, I want you to take a moment and reflect on what you've accomplished. It's probably way more than you ever sought out to when you bought that $99 kit. It's way more than I ever expected to accomplish with that investment. And I want you to know that these experiences are building blocks for whatever comes next. Share memories, share moments, talk with people about this. Reflect on how far you've come and what's possible because of those accomplishments. It kind of gets you out of the problem and into possibilities, which is what I want to talk about next. Like, what is next? And some of you might be considering jumping into another direct sales company, and that's great if it aligns with your goals. I do want to encourage you to do your due diligence and to do your research and to not make a quick decision so that you don't end up in a place that you don't belong or in a place that you don't feel aligned in. Do your research on that before you jump in. And everyone's going to respond differently in this situation. So again, do not judge or shame your sisters for what decisions they make. You don't know their financial situation and they don't know yours. Everyone has to make their decisions based on the information that they have and the season of life that they're in. Others of you might be thinking about maybe starting your own business. Like you've developed all of these skills and you have maybe a passion or you have an idea, something that like you want it to be fully yours. Either way, and some of you might go and get a 9-to-5. Like you might go back into the workforce where you're working for someone else. And either way, I want you to take a step back and ask yourself, what do I really want? What lights me up? I was just having a conversation today with one of my clients about changing opportunities, changing careers doesn't mean you failed in the one career. So don't look at this as a failure. Don't look at this as I'm quitting, I'm quitting. Or, when you go, if you do decide to go and get a corporate job, it doesn't mean you quit on entrepreneurship. It just means for now, this is the best decision for you and your family. You may come back to it and you may not. Maybe entrepreneurship was for you for a certain period of time to help you be more flexible with your family and your kids and the ages and stages that they were in. And now that's not as important to you. You want more of a stable income that you're going to get every single week. This is your opportunity to realign with your purpose and to think about what truly excites you and fits with your lifestyle as a mompreneur. This pivot, this transition can be the beginning of a business that feels even more aligned with who you are today. This transition can be the beginning of a new career that feels even more aligned with who you are today. Like, I think back to who I was in 2006 and the person that I've become in the process. And this kind of goes back to the last piece I was talking about, like reflecting on what you've accomplished. Like, I am a different person. The confident Martine that you hear today was not her back in 2006. I had low self-esteem. I had confidence issues. I had no sales experience. I feared talking in front of people. I was bitter and resentful at my husband because he had hobbies and I didn't. Like, I was very dependent. And so just taking a moment to reflect on who you are today, and maybe that person today doesn't align anymore with the entrepreneurship, or maybe it does, but it's going to look a little different now. Like, this could be the beginning of something amazing and that's more aligned with who you are today. So what are some practical steps to take? I know some of you are like, this is all great, Martine, like all this mindset stuff and woo-woo emotions and all of that. And it is the important piece, because your actions will follow your emotion. Your actions will follow your thoughts. So you got to get those in alignment first, which is why I say give yourself time. But for those of you that have done that and you've processed and you're ready for some, like, what are some practical tips? Now is the time to get smart with your finances, because your income was impacted. So review your expenses, trim anything unnecessary, and think about alternative income streams to keep things steady during the transition. Again, you may not want to 100% leave entrepreneurship, but for right now, you got bills that need to get paid. Go get a job. It doesn't mean anything bad about you to do that. It doesn't mean that you weren't successful as an entrepreneur. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful in this next venture of entrepreneurship. It just means you have bills to pay. And for a season, this is what you need to do. Also consider that maybe this is a great time for personal development. Like, when I felt called out of 31, I did feel called to a season of rest, and I was financially able to do that for a short period of time. And so during that time was when I reflected and re-energized and did some journaling and just really use it as a time for personal development. So for you, maybe it's a course that you want to take. Maybe it's learning a new skill. Maybe it's going to therapy. Maybe it's working with a coach. This is your moment. Could be your moment, could be the opportunity to invest in yourself in ways that you haven't done before. For me, it was a reconnection back to my faith as well, and making that a priority again. So for you, maybe that's part of this journey for you. One of the most powerful things that you can do right now is lean into your community. You do not have to do this alone, and I wouldn't suggest that you try it alone. Many of you are going through this together, and I want you to be super selective. I would encourage you to be super selective on who you lean into in this time, because some people are very solution oriented and others are very much, they have a problem for every solution that you come up with. And that could just be y'all might be in different stages of the grieving process. So honor your sisters and honor what you need in the moment, and be selective with who you allow into your community to support you through this. But you will need community. You will need support. It could be one person, it could be two people, it could be 10 people. So whether, again, it's an online Facebook community you've been in, maybe it's just connecting with some close friends who understand your journey. Maybe it's tuning into this podcast because I understand your journey. Let them support you. And note to all of my strong girls, my strong women out there, I need you to lean in. Just because you're always seen as the strong person doesn't mean you have to be today. It's okay for you to stop being the encourager and receive encouragement. It's okay for you to stop serving others and receive service right now. It's okay for you to put down that identity of Miss Dependable and have someone else serve you. And on the flip side of that coin, I know for me, when I'm kind of in a spot like a funk, or I'm kind of down in a low cycle, when I get out of self and into service, I immediately feel better because I have a servant's heart. And so maybe for some of you, it is getting out of self and out of your reality, even if it's for 30 minutes, and go serve someone else, go help someone else. But specifically to those of you that are like me, that are highly empathetic and highly encouragers, this is going to be hard for you because you're used to encouraging other people and you're in a season where you need that. You need that support and it's available to you. You just have to reach out and let people know because people don't see it. They see you smiling and they see you having it all together and they see that you're handling it well when really you might be suffering in silence. Choose wisely about your community and choose to ask for the help that you need. Share your story. Connect with others who are going through the same thing, not from a place of like whining and moaning, but like, this is real, y'all. You have real emotions around this. Connect with others who are going through the same thing, and that can hold that space with you and for you. That shared experience can be incredibly powerful in creating new partnerships, maybe some new collaborations, some new friendships, maybe a deeper level of friendship because pain is universal and you're all going through that. And I want to remind you that you have been through hard things before. And so if you can hold on to this thought, you have 100% track record of making it through hard things. 100% track record because you're still here and you're still thriving. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. So I want to remind you of that when your brain tries to take you down a rabbit hole of despair. You have 100% track record of getting through hard things. And you've come out stronger on the other side. And this will be no different. It's a choice that you get to make, again, on how you're going to respond. This is another chapter in your journey. That's it. It's not the final word. It's another chapter. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs I know faced a similar situation, whether it was their company closed, a business failed, a marriage ended, but they didn't give up. They didn't give up. They used that moment to fuel something even bigger and better. And you can do the same. Remember why you started this journey in the first place. Stay connected to that and let it guide your next steps. Or maybe now is the time to revisit it and like, I have a new why. Like I'm in a new season. My season now is very different than when I started. My kids I had one son at the time when I started my business with 31, and now they're going to be 20 and 17. So maybe you need a new why. Maybe this is the time for you to reset and refocus on that. So here is a takeaway for you. Yes, 31 is closing their doors, but your journey as a mompreneur is far from over if you decide that it is. This could be the turning point that leads to even more success and fulfillment. I will tell you, I had no idea what was next for me. That was very scary. Walking away, like literally overnight, walking away, and not overnight, but because it was a journey processing to get to the decision, but to one day wake up and like, that wasn't my business anymore. That was the reality. And I remember the emotions that went along with that. And I could have just given up, right? I could have just thrown in the towel, and I didn't know what God was calling to me next. And it was a journey. And I can tell you this now, I'm so thankful for the hard. I'm so thankful for the struggle. I'm so thankful for my faith that grew leaps and bounds. And I knew that was going to happen, even when it was sucky, even when it was hard, even when I didn't understand it, even when it didn't make sense. My faith today is stronger. It's more real. And if you need to borrow my faith to help you through this, you will get through this. Don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. Hold firm to your faith and hold firm to your community. And you can use this moment to fuel something even bigger and better. I did this. You can do this too. This could be the turning point that leads to even more success and fulfillment for you. I want you to lean into the skills that you've built explore new possibilities, and don't forget to reach out for support. You've got this. And if you ever need a reminder of how strong, how capable, and how creative you are, you know where to find me right here on this podcast. And until next time, I'm believing in you always. Well, that's it, friends, for this remix moment. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me, and I hope that you are feeling inspired and ready to take on whatever comes your way. Remember, even small moments can lead to big changes. If this moment made a difference, be sure to subscribe, share with your fellow moms, and leave me a quick review. Seriously, it means the world to me to hear from you. And until next time, I am believing in you, and I will catch you in the next moment.